Literally 2 years ago, I got made redundant and I was out of a job and I had a family to feed, a house to keep over my head, and I had no source of income. So I was put in a position where I had to do something about it. And what I'd done is I started my own business, which just happened to be a car detailing business. And the reason I went down that route is because the startup costs were low, it's a relatively easy thing to get into, and I could start paying my bills pretty much immediately as long as I got work. And it just so happened within 2 to 3 months, I was actually earning more money than I was in my insurance sale job, which is the job I got made redundant from. And I'm now at a point in my business where I don't really need to work all too often at all to cover my basic expenses, which basically means I have the freedom to do what I want when I want. And with very little work, I can generate, £5,000 to £6,000 a month, which I'm not saying is the be all and end all. I'm not the biggest detailing business in the UK. But I'd like to think I'm at a point where I am so comfortable, I don't really need to do too much anymore. And I believe everyone can get to that position because I was earning minimum £3,000-4,000 by month 5. And you can too, and this is what the video is about. So let's get into it. To be clear on one thing though, this is not some sort of glamorous business. This takes graft and hard work. I was working out the back of my car for the first 3 to 4 months while I was trying to grow it, and I was working for friends and family. I was doing a lot of referral work, and I was trying to grow my Google business profile, which, like I say, takes a bit of time. I was obviously lacking on equipment, and jobs which would normally take me now 2 to 3 hours would take me all day. And I was charging a lot less than what I do now, but this is just part and parcel of the process. And these are some of the mistakes I made, which I want to tell you now so you can avoid them. But the point being, you don't need to start with the perfect setup. You don't need everything to get going. You just need to get going. Which brings me on to point number 1. Point number 1 being you need to get going immediately. Don't let the lack of equipment stop you. You just need to get your name out there. I started by building a very simple Squarespace website, which again in hindsight I didn't actually really need, but I would recommend doing so to start with. So I didn't need a Squarespace website. I didn't need to spend the money on a Squarespace website because I've now learned I can build it myself, which is what I currently do. I host my own website. But if you want something quick and easy to start with, host it on Squarespace, on Wix, and just basically have a website where people can find you, find your services, find the About You page, and have a way to contact you. That way, when I showed up, when people looked for a valet in their local area, I came across as a legitimate business because I had a website, I had a way for people to contact me, and I had a Google business page all linked to one another. So people were more inclined to book with me. Even if I had a lack of reviews or a lack of experience, I just came across a certain way. Whether I could deliver the results or not, I wouldn't know until I actually got the job. It's unfortunately the way it is, but the clients didn't have to know that. Once I was in a position where I had my website and I had some visibility, I could then start doing the cold outreach. I would then start to get more traffic coming to my website slowly but surely. And with Squarespace or Wix, you can make the website in a way that it's so easy to navigate and so clear for people to go down a route. If people want just a deep interior clean, if you have a service for that, all they need to do is click on that page and there's a little book now button which you can easily implement. And then there you go. I think having a website to start with is probably one of the most important things you can do because, again, it's just that social proof that people are looking for, and you have a way for people to contact you, and you also have that visibility I've been talking about. Step 2 is to follow the money, and I mean that in a literal sense. What I actually used to do was go around handing out leaflets to the most affluent areas around me. I can actually show you one. There's one down here. This was not planned, by the way, sorry. This was one of the ones we started with. So yeah, mobile car detailing valeting. And then look, here we are, 10% off with this leaflet. Fuck me, 10% off, wow. Full valet, 90 quid I was making for a full valet when I first started. 10% off, so yeah, I was actually making £81 for a full valet whenever someone got this. But it did work, and like I say, I managed to get quite a few jobs from handing these around. I think they were about 50 quid for about a few hundred, maybe a bit less actually. But even on the back, just to make sure I was really selling the service, I'd written a little sob story saying, "Hi, I'm Adam, I'm 26 years old, I run Victory Lab Detailing, and it's more than just a business to me. After being in the same job for 5 years, my entire department has been made redundant." While some might view this as a setback, blah, blah, blah. You get the point. I was trying to make the case that, I was in a position where I had no other choice but to go down this route, which was technically true at the time. I had to do something to earn an income, and I wasn't really ready to jump back into another 9-to-5 job, and this seemed the best thing that I could do at the time, and it's clearly worked out for the better. But that's how I got started, and you can do exactly the same. I'm not saying undercut like I did. Although it got me more jobs, it's not really necessary. You can probably just go middle of the market, and that is really just to do with researching your local area. Find who's charging the most premium, find who's charging the lowest price, and just put yourself somewhere in the middle. You will get clients that way. And the best thing about this, I didn't have to target anyone. It was basically, throw out a wide net and you'll get some bites on the hook essentially with these leaflets. So I didn't need to spend money on ads or anything like that at all. It was a case where if someone wanted the service, they would reach out to me and do so. And I tried to make it on the actual form the leaflet as easy as possible. So I had a little QR code that would take you directly to the website. Obviously, I've got all my contact details up here as well. So I made it extremely clear as exactly what people can do to get in touch, and it worked. But obviously, you have to take it to the areas where people can afford it. You don't want to be taking it to council estates. You don't want to be taking it to hostels. No one's going to fucking want their car deep cleaned inside and out if they're living in a fucking hostel. So, yeah, you get the point. Step 3 for me was to do whatever it takes to get any jobs to start with. Because you're trying to build something here. And this thing you're building, your car detailing business, this will compound over time. And you'll see what I mean as we get further along into the video. But the point being, you need to basically try and get a job by any means necessary. So even if that is a case of being on the lower end and perhaps charging a lower price, then so be it. I wouldn't recommend it, but you've got to try and get a job. And the reason being, you want some sort of social proof, some sort of testimonial after the job has been done. Because the reality is, these people are going to see you for what you are. You can hide behind your lovely website. You can be so polite over messages. You can show up on time. You can do all of that. But when they see you there and they see you taking 6 hours to do a full interior and, it's okay, they'll then see you for what you are. And that is someone who's learning the trade. And there's nothing wrong in doing that. But if you show people that you're trustworthy, that you're reliable, and that you're willing to put in the work to do the job, then you're going to get good reviews and you're going to get referrals. The amount of times this happened to me where I would come to someone who's got an extremely nice car. There was one guy who was actually having to return his car back to BMW. So it was a BMW X5 and he needed to return it basically in pristine condition. And that basically weighed on my mind. I was like, fucking hell, he needs a car back to BMW in a pristine condition. They're going to pick my work apart. I need to deliver here. I didn't have an air compressor, so I couldn't blow out all the dirt. I was basically using one of those exterior dryers, those like big boy blower things, on the interior to try and get any sort of dog hair that he had out. And it was an absolute farce. It took me hours, all day, to do this car, but I charged for the interior and exterior, I think it was £110. He gave me £150 because I was basically there all day doing that work for him. So I'm glad he appreciates it, and it's someone that I still do work for now, very rarely, but if it's a case where I come to mind or he needs something doing, then he'll always contact me over everyone else because he's seen that I've put in the effort to do that. And if you're passionate about your work or wanting to make this work, then you'll do exactly the same. So this goes back to the point of basically trying to build some sort of foundation, getting these people through the door and just showing that you're committed to doing that work. And that's when things will compound from thereafter. This sort of ties in nicely to step 4. So step 4 is about getting reviews, because that way you can then build some notoriety locally to you. And I made it very clear after each job I needed a review. It was probably one of the first things I said. I handed the key back, I walked them around the car, showed them exactly what's been done, any little bits that I couldn't perhaps deal with, but I then made it clear that I need a review. I wouldn't say I need a review, but I'd be like, I'd really appreciate a review. It massively helps out the business. And if you get a spare 5 to 10 minutes, that would be great, just to write something on our Google business profile. After I'm done, when I get home, I'll send you the link and I'll make it as easy as possible for you. Something along those lines. And if you make it very clear to them that you do need this, then they'll be more than happy to provide a nice one, I'm sure. And if they have any problems with the actual job or anything like that, don't leave until someone's 100% satisfied. Because that way you can then get that 5-star review after the work, which is why I've only ever got 5-star reviews. And I don't really ask for reviews so much anymore because I do a lot of private work and dealership work. But, when you're first starting, it is basically your bread and butter. You want to be getting them as much as possible. So make sure that you are optimizing for reviews, doing things that you think that will go the extra mile and people would really appreciate. There was one time where I was doing a job outside and my hose leaked, and it leaked basically all over a carpet that she had. And the carpet was in a bad state anyway. I say carpet is more like a rug. And it leaked over it, and I've been doing the work for hours and I hadn't noticed it. It was soaked wet through, and I don't think she had realised either because she'd left it outside to dry anyway. So the fact that my hose was leaking water all over it did not help. So what I'd done is I went the extra mile and I basically took her rug after I'd done her car, And I went through the whole cleaning process on that. So I got a drill brush, fabric cleaner, all of that, took every stain out, wet vacked it, all of that. And she was like, where's my rug gone? I was like, oh, here, I've just cleaned it all up for you. She had no idea that the hose had been leaking over it, but I made it clear that, I was there. She's clearly got this problem with the rug. I'm going to act like I'm helping her out. And it was just little things like that. The actual cleaning of the rug took me 5-10 minutes, but she mentioned it in her review, and I imagine I've got more customers off the back of that review because people see I've gone the extra mile. Anyway, step 5 is the Google Business Profile, which is where you want to be collecting your reviews. Forget about Facebook, forget about anywhere else. It's nice to have reviews there, but your bread and butter is your Google Business Profile. And the reason I say that is because the people on Google, the people who are searching for jobs to be done on Google, these are high intent people. They are actively looking for this job to be done, whereas on Meta or Facebook, they're not actively looking for that, and you're trying to stop their scrolling to get them to book with you. But if they're on Google and you've got a great website, you've got a Google business that's fully filled out, listed all your services, the pricing, you post there regularly, you've replied to every single review, you will then attract more customers that way. And I think it's probably the most important thing when you're first starting, what you need to optimize. There's no point going on your Google Business Profile and putting down services that you don't provide. So if you're just starting, I very much doubt you're doing leather conditioning work from day one. So when that's an option in terms of services that you provide, don't include it, even though it might look great. If someone did want leather conditioning and you think you could do it, great. But if you don't have it on your website, but you have it on your Google Business Profile, Google will get a little bit worried that it's not there. Why is that not on your website, but it's on your Google Business Profile? And it will actually affect your ranking, believe it or not. And Google are that clever. So just keep it honest, keep it simple. You don't need a lot to start with, but just make sure your Google Business Profile is right. And we will do an in-depth video on this in the future about getting your Google Business Profile right, how exactly I set up mine, and what you need to do to basically generate clients just from Google alone. But make sure that's right. Those are sort of the basic fundamentals. Make sure every single section is filled out. Make sure you're posting high quality photos. Make sure your services have got great descriptions, and make sure the pricing is clear. It can't be more simple than that. Step 7 was basically for me to optimize my SEO. So now I'm getting people through the door. People are responding to my leaflets or whatever else. I'm getting some reviews and getting more website traffic. With that in mind, I wanted to basically hike that as much as possible. And the best way for me to do that was optimize my website for SEO. Luckily for me, Squarespace, who I was using at the time, had a built-in SEO feature which massively helped out. But it's all about essentially using keywords. So if you're obviously servicing your certain area, you want to make it clear on your website that's exactly what you're doing. You want to use compressed images, for example, as well to help with loading speeds. I think this is a little bit old school, maybe when I first started, but you wanted to have location pages. So specific pages dedicated to the locations you serve and what you would do in those locations, so the services you would offer. I don't think that's so important now, but if you want to sort of like get a little bit higher up, appear on the first page, appear in the map pack, which is the first 3 businesses you'll see on Google. So you'll see a map. You'll see 3 businesses below, maybe 4 if one of them's paid for Google Ads. They might appear in there. But if I were to go on Google now and type in detailing near me, even in incognito mode, my business would always appear first, even though I've by no means got the most reviews or anything like that at all. But because of how I built my website and optimized it for SEO, it was basically a home run because I had dialed in every single part of my SEO. And again, this is something else we can go into a bit more detail in the future. If you guys did want to see a video on that, exactly how I set it up for myself and how you guys can do so too. There's loads of videos out there about how to do it, but I think it's important just to get the basics right. Make sure you're being transparent, make sure you're being honest, show exactly where you do your work, have compressed images of the work that you've done, have locations clearly listed all throughout your website. Make sure that you're giving alt images text, so anytime you have an image, make sure in that image you're doing the alt text, which is basically essentially describing what that image shows. That again massively helps out with SEO. So if you do car valeting in London, say car being valeted in London on the image alt text. And this is all a bit techie, but these are the sorts of things you want to look at. And if you were to go on ChatGPT or Claude, it would tell you exactly what you need to do. and it would be more than good enough. So yeah, make sure you're focusing on that as well. And step 7, this is where things will start to compound, because you've gone through every other step. You've been handing out the leaflets, you've been building your Google business profile, you've optimized your website for SEO. Your traffic line should start to be looking like that, and your interactions should be going up. And the best way to look at that is on the Google Search Console. You can see your interactions, you can see what people are contacting you about, and so on. So if you haven't got a Google Search Console account, make sure you've got one, because you can then see exactly what you're doing right and what's going wrong. But once you're in a position where all of those other steps have been implemented, what you then want to start doing is rolling some of your revenue into ads. And it really doesn't need to be a lot, but I think you need to focus on having a great creative, having a great offer. You might want to say, attention, blah, 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 owners in your certain area. We're offering at the moment single stage paint correction packages starting from £350. These are limited time slots, and we'll get your car looking from this, and then obviously showing an image, to this. Even a simple video that you can make on CapCut within 2 minutes with all the footage that you've been compiling over the time that you've been doing these jobs, putting that into an ad and putting like £5, £10, £15 a day on ad spend. If you get the setup right, this will just massively blow up your business, I can assure you. And you can also mention as well about sort of, again, social proof. So make a mention that this is the service that we've done for this person, and this is what they said after. Can all be included in your creative. And again, it just reaffirms that to potential customers that you are great at delivering a result. You're able to deliver the service, and they'd be more than happy to book in. It is so simple. And I don't know why more people don't utilize it, but that's why you're on this video, I guess, to find out that sort of stuff. But it works for me. Yeah, just do it. If you ever did want more support around this, then I would welcome you to join our mailing list. We are going to launch a school community fairly soon, but if you wanted to join the mailing list, it's basically a wait list for that, and then you'll be the first included in there. And the first few members will be free. After that, it will obviously be a paid community. But I do appreciate you guys watching this video. Obviously, again, if you have any questions, leave them in the comment section below. I'm all ears. Obviously, I'm not getting much views at the moment, but if you have any questions, any concerns, then just drop it in the comments. And yeah, I'll see you next time.